Okay, well, welcome to the Addison Township Board meeting. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023, and it's after 6 o'clock. And the meeting is being held at the Addison Township offices, 1440 Rochester Road. And if we could all stand for the pledge, and we do have a veteran, Mr. Davis, our attorney. He can start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just stand 1 second, please.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you and be your representatives for the township. We ask that you give us wisdom as we make these decisions. We ask that your blessing on all mothers on that special Mother's Day. We ask your protection for Chief Morosky and the firefighters. We also ask for protection for Sergeant T. Lander and the sheriff's deputies as they serve our community. We do pray for all of our sick and all those in need. And the Lord, there are so many that need our prayers that are dealt with the lost this year, and we pray that we just be able to comfort them. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll start. Roll call, please.
Here. Mary Cross. Here. Linda Garrett. Here. Ed Redfield.
Here.
Lori Fisher. Here. Bennett present. Supervisor Pearson.
Here, all accounted for. Very good. Any announcements?
No.
Department reports, as usual, always available in my office. Petitions, any petitions?
None.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda, approval of the agenda.
I received quite a few requests for an addition to the agenda, all based on time constraints. One, it's going to be as number 10, resolution authorizing the Township of Addison to opt in Community Development Block Grant Program for the Michigan Urban County Qualifications. Number 11 for agenda item would be designation of a new position, recruitment and retention officer, and 4-year limited agreement for the grant from the fire department. And then 12, a budget amendment that was dispersed earlier.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll support.
Okay. Any questions from the board on this? Not hearing any? Can we have roll call on that, please?
Yes. Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Redfield.
Yes.
Mary Cross.
Yes.
Karen Geibel.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda.
Yes, there's quite a few on the consent as well. Approval of the April 10th minutes. Approval of the April 2023 bills is paid. The resolution adopting and affirming the 23-24 health care benefits. Renewal of the workers' compensation insurance with MML for $19,030, which will be taken from fire and general fund accordingly. Resolution modifying the PTO calculation and a floating holiday. Resolution of support for the Addison Township new library construction.
There were a couple that I didn't hear
You jumped a lot.
F and G on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Resolution authorizing the interlocal F and G. Resolution adopting the poverty exemption home income guidelines asset test. Resolution authorizing the interlocal agreement for Oakland County to approve the designated assessor. Resolution of support for this one the double, new library construction. $600 for the Porta-John at the Strawberry Festival from community development account.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll support.
Here we have a motion and we have support. Any comments from the board? Not hearing any, can we have roll call on that, please?
Yes. Karen Geibel.
Yes.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Redfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, which is the public hearing and resolution for the special assessment district for the private road of Markwood and Markwood Court. This is the second and final hearing for the SAD known as Markwood and Markwood Court. The township received petitions signed by more than 50% of the record owners based on the tax rolls of Oakland County. constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of the proposed SAD, requesting the amount of $375 per parcel for each of the next 5 years for the purpose of road maintenance and/or snow plowing, may include the improvements of additional gravel, stone, and 10% collection fee for the township. Proper notice of the hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader and mailed by first-class mail to each property owner within the proposed SAD, and determined that the petitions for the Markwood Road and Markwood Court SAD were properly signed by the record owners of 30 parcels with 77.8% signing the petition, and attached the petition for the board to determine the same. Okay, at this time, once again, this is where we listen, and I'm going to open up a public hearing if anybody would like to speak on the SADs for Markwood and Markwood Court. This will be the time, and I am now opening up the public hearing at, we'll call it 6:05. If anybody would like to speak on the SADs for Markwood and Markwood Court, please come forward. I'll ask one more time, if anybody would like to speak on those, please come forward. Not seeing anyone coming forward, I'd like to close the hearing. We'll call it 6:06. Are there any questions from the board on the SAD? I'll be looking for a motion then.
I'll move the resolution for the Special Assessment District authorizing an SAD for Markwood Road and Markwood Court, private roads in Addison Township. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any further comments? Do we have roll call on that, please?
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Mary Cross.
Yes.
Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Roy Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, the resolution is so moved. We move on to item number 3. Oh, this is going to be our closed session. Okay, we're going to have a closed session to discuss with our attorney and the board in a closed session. And I guess that's under Rule 15268H. And that gives us a right to go into closed session to talk about things that have to do with our attorney and the township board. So if everybody would like, when we go into closed session, the fire chief can show you where our senior center is, and you can just kind of hang out there and have some coffee or whatever, water, until we get done. We hope that we're not going to be too long, and then the chief will call us all back in when we're done with the closed session. Well, thank you very much for waiting. It's government work, you know, unfortunately.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion. And I make this motion because I welcome the proposed development and want to see it happen and provide the applicant a full opportunity to make it happen with this motion. The development at this site is subject to a controlling consent judgment. To end zoning disputes and circuit court litigation, this township and right development negotiated a consent judgment that set forth the rights and obligations of the parties with respect to the property development. The consent judgment, including its amendment, runs with the property. Because of the consent judgment, this board has continuing and active role with respect to the development of this site. Based on its ongoing role, this board considered the applicant's development submittal at a board meeting on March 20th, 2023. That review, including a closed session, resulted in a March 20, 2023 motion that was adopted by this board. That motion remains controlling. The applicant's development proposal then went to the Planning Commission on April 11th, 2023. The plan was denied as incomplete, and that action by the Planning Commission was communicated back to the board. That requires that this board act. Based on the facts and procedural status of the proposal and acknowledging the continued role of the board, I move the following. 1, that this development plan go back to the Planning Commission for further review and action consistent with the motion and the March 20th, 23 motion. 2, the applicant be provided notice that the development plan is going back to the Planning Commission for further review and action. 3, that the Planning Commission place this matter on its agenda when it receives a written communication from the applicant that the matter is ready for Planning Commission review. 4, the ready for Planning Commission review shall mean that the applicant submitted plans comply with the applicable zoning ordinances and that the submitted plans address the issues raised by the township professional reviews. 5, the Planning Commission work with the applicant on the ready for Planning Commission review development plans, including setting the matter aside to additional meetings to allow for any required changes and/or modifications, provided the Planning Commission believes good faith efforts are continuing. 6, that the Planning Commission allow for phasing of this development, including a phased approach to the parking requirement. The applicant shall submit its desired phasing to the Planning Commission for consideration. This board agrees that phasing up to 5 years should be considered by the Planning Commission. 7, the Planning Commission work with the applicant to achieve a site plan that is zoning compliant for the submittal back to this township board for actions allowed under the township zoning ordinance. 8, that if the Planning Commission determines that it cannot get a site plan that is compliant with applicable zoning ordinances, despite all attempts to do so, the Planning Commission should recommend a denial of the site plan accordingly. 9, that the prior motion of the board dated March 20th, 2023 continues to apply to the applicant's proposal and shall be supplemented by this motion.
So we have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. And what that means is that this is going back to the Planning Commission to see how you can present your plans to the Planning Commission and see if we can resolve some of the issues and then come back with your plan. Is that correct, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I think what the board is considering here is allowing your planning commission to be very flexible on hearing and working on the plans for this development, including phasing up to 5 years. And that, unusual to the planning commission, if the planning commission believes things are moving along well, just there's no need to, rush to judgment on the site plan, table the matter, set additional meetings, allow the applicant to change and look at things, allow the applicant access to the professionals' opinions, and see if we can't get a plan that the planning commission can call compliant and send it back to us with a yes across the top of it.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any comments from the board? Well, I would call roll call on this, please.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that passes. Thank you very much for coming. I think you have your work ahead of you, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to resolution, number 5, resolution authorizing the 2020 millage rate with the special assessment districts. This is a routine thing that we have to establish for our taxable rates for 2023. There's also including the SEDs and list all. I'd be looking for a motion to move the resolution authorizing the 2023 millage rate be accepted.
We're going to use the updated ones because Linda found a couple typos with the dates. I'll go ahead and move the resolution authorizing the 2023 millage rates.
I'll support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Do we have any comments from the board? Not hearing it, do we have a roll call, please?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, the resolution is so moved. Move on, item number 6. Let me see, resolution authorizing the fee schedule for development, zoning board of appeals, zoning compliance applications, special meetings, and cost recovery. We have not raised our rates since 2005. I think it's time that we start recovering some of the administrative costs involved as not everyone uses the services. In discussion with legal, the township has an overriding duty, first of all, to provide these services, but we also need to be made whole. It shouldn't be the taxpayers in Addison Township that are supporting development, so we just want to break even. That's our bottom line. Anyways, we encourage certain services, and when those services do not benefit the community, the taxpayers are paying for it. So I think we have demonstrated by holding the fees since 2005 that we're doing our best to hold the cost down, but things have risen since that time, and between our legal fees and our planner fees and the time in the office, all of our administrative, the prices have gone way up. You can see in the board pack, we're not changing the development fee schedule at this time. We will review once a new planner is in place, because our planner, as you know, is going to be retiring. And that will be brought in line with the application. The new proposed rates for the zoning board of appeals still shows us in the red for 1 and 2 cases at a time. When we only have 1 or 2 cases, we're losing money on the hearings. The township actually is supplementing the hearing. So when we have 3, we're about $500 ahead, I believe. But by the time you add our paying for our attorney to be here and everything like that, that's all eaten up quickly also. So we're just trying to break even. Does the board have any questions on this?
I've got one. I would like Pauline to review the commercial, business, industrial, public office, site plan, special use rezoning, site condo, PUD, and open space. Increase from 3,000 to 10,500, and be able to be willing to just justify the reason for that increase. I know we have new engineers, they're very expensive. Since 2005, things have really, really changed. Think about buying a car from 2005 to buying one now. But I'd just like to, everything else is pretty much in line, except that one line item seemed to come up.
I understand. And how I did this, I took Brett's. Brett was a fairly simple site plan.
Okay.
And he is at 10,000 for a simple site plan. And in my mind, we're never going to be below 10,000 anymore. And it's really hard for us to go back to somebody who only gave us 3 and then say, because you have to recapture that money every month that they review it. Oh, you owe the township another 3. And then again, oh, you owe the township another 3. I get ticked when people do that to me, because it feels like I'm not being upfront that, hey, it's probably going to cost this money. And basically, it's not really, how would you say, it's a wash. So if somebody gives us that 10.5, if by some chance they go through the first time and Matt only charges us $5,000, they're refunded $5,000.
Okay.
If by some chance they go through and it's going to be time after time after time because they have issues with their site plan, it's going to probably go above 10.5. So I use Brett as the target, and I sent it to Matt too, and he says, yeah, I guess that would be pretty average.
Okay.
So I used him as the target because he was right at the 10,000 mark.
The other thing is, on that, do you have anything in there that if somebody was going to go to the ZBA, they did pay their fees, we did all of the engineering, we did all of the advertising, we did everything, and it was pulled at the last minute, do we have anything in there to cover us if that happens?
Typically, and it's going to come from the building official, if somebody applies, if they withdraw really, really quickly, don't do anything, they would get the full amount back. But if somebody applies and we do not have the notice in the paper yet, they would receive all of the funding back except for the admin fee, because we've already started the process. Once the application and the notice is in, it's kind of already late.
Is there a line item in the application letting the applicant know that when we start this process, we do the engineering, we do the advertising, we do everything, you will get back what we haven't already spent, or something in the right word? I know that if I was doing the PUD I paid the 10,500. And I pulled it tomorrow and said I changed my mind, I get the money back. If I didn't, it's been eating me that maybe I shouldn't do this, but you went ahead and engineered, you did all this stuff.
But that's different. This one is a wash. They only pay what the engineers, besides the admin fee,
This
they
one here
only
that I'm
pay.
talking about,
This,
the 10,500?
the 10,005 is engineering, so it's nothing to do with the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
So if they came up to me and they applied,
Yes.
let's say Matt didn't even look at it, they would get it all back.
Okay,
If Matt started his research and they said, you know what, I'm not going to go through with this, I can tell, or something happened in their family, then what they would not receive, let's say that $500, because that goes for the postage and all that
Right.
good junk. And let's say Matt only charges $500, they get the rest back.
Okay, as long
It's
as-
not going to the township.
okay. The
That's
only
the
reason I
wash.
wanted that line item in there is to save somebody from saying, I want all of my money back.
See, engineer fees are invoiced or refunded based on the actual expenditure incurred by the township. Additional fees may be applied. Applicant will be provided an invoice and copy of the fees incurred by the township. So that's what we're already doing, but now I put that in writing.
Okay, good, that's what I wanted to say right there.
Okay.
Yes.
I think some of these costs are certainly warranted, and especially anything for commercial or the larger developments, because a developer is going to build the cost increases in with their project. The zoning compliant permits, and I see it looks like originally they were going to all be $250, and now there's two tiers almost of $125 and $250. I'm not sure that when we process those, I think those are all going under the building permit code, which is in essence, we're only retaining 25% of those.
Well, the 250 is new.
Right, the 250 is new, so that increase,
The
I think.
planner bills us, if we have to send it to him, we get a bill from the planner, and then we also get a bill from the building official. So we go in the hole every time there is a zoning compliance permit for somebody saying, I would like to know if I can do this. So if it goes to the planner, which it's only uses typically, then it's gonna be, it's increased so that he's paid and the building official is paid because he's billing us as well.
Right, so just keep in mind that we're only retaining, out of that increase, we're only retaining 25%, or, yeah, 25% of the increase.
Correct, and Billy did not want to increase any of the admin on the zoning compliance. He was fine with the admin as is.
Okay. The other one that I thought was a large increase was the zoning board of appeals for personal residential use. Those typically are somebody who can't build their barn where they would like, or trying to think of another case. They were, I believe, $650. Is that right? $650, I think, is how much they used to cost. So we're increasing those to $1,400, and I just feel like at some point this is a little bit prohibitive. If somebody does have an issue, our job is to service the residents. So anything where a person may have to end up paying this fee because they can't utilize their property, or even the land divisions went up to $1,300. I think that was.
There was no increase in the land division. The only reason why you're looking at that differently is that the admin's increase, and I put it all as one fee because people get upset. Oh, you're gonna charge me this, and you're gonna charge me this, and they wanna know what the total price is. So I took all of those, but the development fees really didn't go up except for the processing.
The land division, are you saying?
Development fees, land divisions, site plans, PUDs,
Okay.
etc. Zoning.
So that was my one concern, I guess, was the increase in the zoning compliant, but I think that one is resolved because I see there's another tier essentially. I just thought $1,400 for a ZBA case for residential was a little steep.
This is what we lose when we have just one case. We lose $887 if there's one case that comes before.
But to some extent, that's on us because maybe in a larger community, you might be hearing 3 or 4 different cases. The fact that we typically only hear one case, so we're charging a whole meeting fee for one person's case rather than in is your
So you're saying that all the taxpayers in Addison Township should supplement these people?
I think if anybody in particular had an issue that they were coming before the township, that's awfully steep. So in
Well-
2012, when we had one building permit, we didn't charge the entire cost of the building department in that year for the permits.
Well, that isn't what
Well,
we're
we're still not.
forced. If we have 2 cases, we're losing still $62. If we have 3 cases at one time, we finally break even. Okay?
It just seems like I guess we have not looked at the building department fee schedule. I did look at some of our neighbors at what they charge. These prices are well over, more than double of what they're charging.
I looked at
just
some of
wanted to
those too,
bring that up.
and they actually have second review fees, and then they have, oh, well, if you talk to this person, it's this much, and then when you actually go to the commission, then you have to pay again, which we're trying to get away from that so that the people are aware. This is how much it's gonna cost you, except for engineering, you might go over, because there's no hidden fees in our. And it's not that they're hiding, they're breaking it down instead of just saying, this is what it's gonna cost you, because it typically is gonna take somebody a meeting with the planner and then also go to the planning commission. Most go 2 times, maybe 3 times. Every time they go, they're charged that money.
And I'm talking really just residential, so anybody who it's their homesteaded property and they're trying to do some project on their property, that's where I'm concerned about.
I think Bruce tried to ask me to work on this because he was told by legal we have to balance it. So we're kind of trying to balance it so that it's a little bit better than what, I'm not even showing what we're losing now. I'm showing what we're going to lose if we increase. So I think it's a balance. You can go ahead and speak. I think he's trying to do a balancing act for some of these prices.
Well, since 2005, everything's changed. We're talking 18 years, whatever. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify, what Lori's pointing out is that the fee as it stands right now is $500 for someone to come in and make that request to build their pole barn a little off their zoning, and it's going to go up to $1,400. So we're hitting the residents with
It's $650.
There's 2 different fees involved, so it's $650 total right now if they wanted to build a barn in front of their house, which seems to, for whatever reason, happen a lot.
And then
So it's
this-
not 500 to 1,400? That's what I'm trying to
No,
clarify.
650 to 14, but then this is the form that we put together to kind of break down what our costs are. The zoning board of appeals, I was actually able to get really close for Bruce, because it's very easily, I could very easily document. But, yeah.
I agree with Lori, I think that's a lot to ask our residents in one hit, like, I mean, if there's a gradual increase, it's one thing, I think. And I understand there's been no
I've been
increases.
for 18 years was.
I know, but
Good.
I don't know, I wouldn't want to pay anything.
Okay, any other comments?
Is this something that's written in stone, or can we table this to do some additional research? Do
You
you
can
have to have
table
it
it, or you
done?
can change it.
Well, I wanna be
If
able to-
everybody,
I wanna just
everybody's
sit down
on
and-
this one, it's like, what's gonna be comfortable, 1,000? But we will go in the hole.
I'd like to see, first off, what our neighbors are charging, reality, not just call and say, oh, it's 1,000, but when you get there and say, okay, if we're building a barn, what is it gonna cost? And if they say $500, and everybody else says, Ortonville says 500, Addison says 500, we say 1,400.
So Oxford
We're doing
has a
something wrong.
lot more population, so if we have 3 cases per month, we actually are
I'm not talking
paying.
about.
But if we don't, then we go in the hole. So that's where the balancing act is where can you come in and try to come up with a formula that we're not losing as much, because you can't always compare yourself to your neighbors. It's what's our cost?
Was this done with any formula at all? Maybe that's a good question. Was there a formula for this, or was it just,
This is the cost basis.
I see that. I'm just saying, was there a mathematical formula
Yes,
saying?
it shows how much it costs to put on the zoning board of appeals meeting and how much we lose it.
Did we
at a
get that in
certain
our
rate.
packet?
Yes.
Maybe I didn't see that.
And so the bottom line is, do we want to at least try to break even, or do we want to keep supplementing everybody that comes in?
We're not gonna break even at the new rates.
I
I'm just
have
gonna try it.
a question. Is there any way that we could have a tiered system where we could combine applicants? Like if you want to wait until we have to, or do we have to hold?
I think you have to process those within a certain time frame of, and I think it's in the zoning law. You have to process the applications within a certain time frame. You just can't sit on it.
So maybe, it seems like if we could say, if you want it next month, it's going to be this much. If you want to wait until,
You know, what happens if nothing comes in for 3 months?
if you're 4 months, that's what they would have to wait for if they want to spend extra money. Because it was cost what it costs. You know, I mean.
But the rate, it would stay the same whether it be 1 case, 2 case, or 3 case. And when I broke it out, at 1 case, here it is, I'm sorry. At 1 case, we lose $887. If we have 2 cases, we're in the whole 62, but we're still not covering our expenditure for legal or professional service. At 3 cases, 3 cases at one time, we have $763 to go towards the cost of legal and or planner. And we hardly ever have 3 cases. In a year and a half, we only had it happen 1 time. The reason why the zoning board of appeals costs so much is that there are 2 meetings per case. Versus like most of the times they will come 1 time here, maybe a couple times at the planning commission, but at the zoning board of appeals, which is a good thing, they hold a public hearing, then they think about it, they actually go to the site and review it, so they really do their homework, so there's 2 meetings. So we're not only just doing the 1, I have to add in the costs for 2 meetings, and that's why the zoning board of appeals is that expensive.
Why can't the zoning board of appeals go before a meeting? Why do we have to do it in 2 meetings? Is that something unique to us?
Mr. Bowman started that a long time ago. He even does it with the planning commission, because if you're gonna listen to the public, don't you wanna check out what they just told you? So,
Sometimes we get in trouble.
yeah, so I mean, Rand started it, and it carries over in the planning commission and to the zoning board of appeals. So it gives you the opportunity to listen to the people that show up, listen to the applicant, take that information home with you, and then come back the following month.
I agree with that's a great idea, but it is pretty expensive to
It
do
is.
that.
Okay, got another question. Looking at your chart here. The minutes, is that typing up the minutes? Or is that having the person sit here, take the recording, and then type up the minutes? It's $500 to do that?
2 sessions. So it typically takes somebody at least a full day to do the minutes. As you can see what those zoning board of appeals minutes look like, they're basically almost a transcript.
Very technical.
Yes. So, yeah, for 2 meetings, that's what it's gonna cost. And I'm actually being low on that, because I think when Lisa does it, she really goes through it with a fine-tooth comb. When Sarah does it, it's a set price because she's not here by the hour, it's a set price.
Okay.
And it sounds like that's everybody's, I mean, we could table it, or what number do you want to see on the zoning board of appeals?
I'd recommend that we lower that amount, $1,400 to $1,000, and unless there's any other discussion, I would move to approve this resolution authorizing the fee schedule with the modification of the personal residential use to $1,000 instead of $1,400.
I'll support that.
Which one is that, the ZBA or?
Okay, so we do have a motion to lower it down to 1,000, and we have a second on that. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I want to make sure that I have it right. So, and all of these fees, I've now combined the application fee. So all of the applications fee, and that's for processing, et cetera, is $500. So that $500 is included in that $1,000, correct? Because I know they're gonna ask me, well, how much is the application fee gonna be? It's included in that price.
Do we need to say that on the front where you say all application fees include a non-refundable $500?
I just want to make sure that that's your intent, because yes, it's written there that the 500 fee is included in all of these totals.
And that was included in the $650 in the past? No?
100, we only charged 150. So yes, it was, but it was broken down. I just want to make sure, $1,000 no matter what. Correct?
And 500 is non-refundable, is what you're saying. It's a non-refundable $500 administration.
No, I know that the building department's gonna ask me, well, what about, if it's gonna be 1,000, are we still gonna charge the 150? It's gonna be no. Each application is gonna be $1,000 and 500 is used for processing.
And it's non-refundable. The $500 is non-refundable.
Most applications are non-refundable unless they get it to us quickly and before we process.
You say on the front of this motion, all application fees include a non-refundable $500 administration fee for processing and retention.
But I just asked that, so if they turn that in and the next day they change their minds, well, we're not gonna. But if we're already processing and it's been a week, yeah, it's gonna be non-refundable.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I stand by my.
Okay, so includes, I'm just gonna write down it includes the fee. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and we do have support. Any other questions? Do we have roll call, please? Still writing.
Okay. Ed Rickson.
I don't like this. I really don't. I'm gonna say yes, but I don't like it. I'm telling you, I think the prices are too high.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Geiger.
Yes.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, the resolution is so moved. Okay. I understand. I don't like the price of eggs either. Everything's going up. Okay. We're on item number 7 now. Snow removal service agreement. We asked our current contractor if he'd renew his agreement. He's on board for Addison Township, but noted that he has to increase the prices. I think everybody's in that same boat. It seems like it's still difficult to find any contractors to do the plowing, to do it consistently. I don't know that Calvin, who is our provider, very dependable, and he always is here, and it's just something less that I have to deal with or anybody else during a snowstorm when people don't show up or whatever, and he's never let us down. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to waive the ordinance as is no, I don't think it's of any benefit seeking out any more bids on this. First of all, I think the last time we only got one other bid, or did we even get a bid? I can't remember, but and if you see, I think that we need to also, on his contract though, we need to determine whether or not on the columbarium, do we want him to, we don't really want him to, I don't think, plow that during the winter up by the, every single storm, do we? Or just when needed, if it's a heavy storm or whatever. I'm not sure if we want to keep that always clear. That's another expense. But anyways, then the other thing was I'd like for the board to determine what rate will the additional 5% kick in as well as one rate. If you remember, we gave them a gas increase when gas went way up. Do we want to change that so that it's like maybe over $4 or whatever? There was a 5% extra fee. Right now, gas prices came down to just about what we thought it was costing us to do that, like $3.35, $3.39, something like that right now.
I never liked how that was worded. It's that sliding scale thing. I would just like for us to pick $1 amount if we're going to go ahead and continue this 5%. If the gas goes up, pick $1 amount.
Is this part of our, I guess I'm confused. This is something we're approving?
That's something we approved in the past, is why we approved that 5%. It was a modified, they wanted 10%, I proposed 5%, we approved it. Now, it is unclear though, are they asking for it to be here?
Well, I don't understand what the May
We
1st
brought
date.
we brought it in this agreement because the board passed it, so it was an amendment to his agreement. So I'm showing the board that this is here. He proposed that sliding scale. I know that's gonna be a nightmare, so if we're gonna keep it in, I'd rather see us pick what price is that 5% gonna kick in, or are we taking it out? I mean, I don't care which way, but let's just pick one number if we keep it in.
Is he proposing the 5% increase?
No, we approved it, so it is part of his agreement now.
Yeah, but are we signing a new agreement? This says starting in July, this says this agreement starts June 1st of this year.
So this agreement is what his current, how can I say it? So over here is his current rates. Over here is what he's proposing in red. Since we amended his agreement, I have to include this 5%. Yes, this is going to be a new agreement, so now is the time to make any changes that we're going to make.
I'm gonna take out the gas adjustment. I mean, he's not even proposing his own contract, or is this his contract?
This is his contract.
Okay.
And these other prices that he gave us, he concurs with that 5% should remain up to us.
I think that's just cost of doing business, especially his line of business. I don't know.
Bruce, I'm not sure. Are we signing a new contract here?
Yes, his time is up.
Before we go any further, should we waive the purchasing? Because this is a whole new contract, or just carry on
That's
with
what
the
I'm
old?
asking to do to begin with, but,
We're still discussing.
right,
But yes, we will waive. If we come to a conclusion, we'll have to waive it. If we say no, we're not gonna accept it, then we don't need to waive. Also, the highlighted areas are the additions. So I wanted the board to be aware because we had to add for the columbarium area. Until the columbarium is busy, I would suggest that we do $75 per service so that we request it.
So why are we doing this?
I think it is, first of all, do we want to keep Calvin? We've had him all these years, okay, and his increases are very much in line with what the industry is doing, and do we want to, well, first of all, if we waive the ordinance, then we can go ahead and accept his increases. Otherwise, we're going to have to go out to bids, and I suspect he's always been the lowest all along, but that's up to you guys. I'm just stating that he's been here, he knows the system, he's done an excellent job, he's never let us down. I think he's been here how many years?
That I can't tell you.
20 years?
I think the increases are not that high. I agree 100%. I just, the gas adjustment is a little off. The question is, are we keeping his opportunity to be able to bill if the gas goes above $3.60 per gallon? Is that how I'm reading this?
I guess you could go two choices. I want one number instead of two numbers. We could change that number to, as Bruce said, $4 a gallon. It won't kick in until it hits $4 a gallon. Or if you wanted to say, hey, we're gonna take your contract, but we're gonna eliminate that line, then I would have to go back to him and say, your board approved everything but this line, and then it's up to him to accept or reject it. Or just go up higher.
Did you have one motion or two?
Well, we need to waive, first of all.
Okay, I'll make a motion to waive the purchasing of the
Second.
proposal.
Okay, Could we have roll call on that to waive the,
Why are we waiving no
To
benefit?
look at it.
well, because there's no benefit, you're correct.
Is that why we're waiving?
You have to say that.
Because there's no benefit.
Okay, because there's no benefit to us, because, you know, that is the price of doing business, and that's the person that's been here. We can go out, we might get a lot higher bids, I suspect we will.
Or no bids?
Or no bids, yeah.
Well, I think these are reasonable, and he does a great job. He's always here in the morning.
Yep.
We have a very good relationship.
Could I do,
We do the roll call, please.
thank you. Mary Frost.
Yes.
Karen Guyval. Yes. Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Roy Fisher. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. That passes. Okay, now, we want to actual agree on the contract.
Can we do 75 per service for the columbarium, so it be 75 as requested?
What's the difference between the $60 per push and $75?
Every time he goes to the cemetery to plow the snow, he will actually then also clean all of the sidewalks and make sure that it's salted, et cetera, at the columbariums. If we say $75
Per request.
Correct.
Okay, now I got you.
I think we should go with the $75 as requested.
On request.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how much we need it for in the winter.
Plus, we don't want to really do the columbariums in the winter, and our ordinance is written to that way, so it makes sense to do
Yeah.
first approach.
And what's the issue about the fuel?
I think how it's worded, that's a
Just
nightmare. Let's
one or-
pick one number, or if Karen wants to eliminate it. So we suggested 4, so it's like, let's insert 4 or eliminate.
The only thing is Calvin might say, forget the whole thing.
Or
Yeah,
we might
let's
say,
do
hey, I'll come back and ask for it later.
Okay.
I
I'll agree
mean, I
with
don't
that.
know.
Bruce is good. So you said 4, I agree with Bruce. Okay.
All I know is drill, baby, drill. Maybe the prices will go down next time, I don't know. So,
So that's gonna go to 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that a motion then?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with the modifications.
I'll support.
we have a motion and support. Any further comments? Not hearing any, can we have a roll call on that, please?
Yes. Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Roy Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on. I think it's number 8. I can't find
Yes.
where we at now.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, I'm looking for my agenda. I had the
Oh.
okay. Yeah. Number 8. I don't know what it did with it. Too many papers.
Too many people.
Yeah, where'd it go? You probably, oh, I found it.
Haha, you
It was
told
under
me.
yours.
Oh, that's my top page. See, it says Lori right on it. You can still use that.
Somebody stole it, that's all I know. Where did that piece over here? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to number 8. Number 8 is a discussion on the Spark Grant increase fee and resolution authorizing to the state of Michigan for the purpose of a recreational multi-generational park for Addison Township. Okay, as you know, apparently our people make too much money in Addison Township. So
And are
the Spark-
healthy.
And are healthy, yeah, we have healthy,
Well paid.
employed people in Addison Township. So apparently the Spark grants do not apply to us because we're too healthy and we have too much income. Okay, so I do understand that,
But they take our taxes, right?
yeah, we're a donor county, exactly.
Donor.
But anyways, so it seems silly for us to pay our engineers another $1,500 to modify the rules writing for this grant on here if they've already kind of told us that Pauline makes too much money. So, anyways, just kidding. She doesn't make any money. What I'd like to see is a resolution, if time allows, for our office to process an application on our own. And But they are suggesting that maybe we go to the DNR for the trust fund, and maybe we could get something through that, but if we had all our P's and Q's put together, we'd be ready for that. So my thing is, we can try to do it ourselves, and then if that doesn't work, then maybe we'll go to the DNR trust fund and see if I can go up to Lansing and get that, like we got our other grants. Oh, anyway, what's the?
I'm willing to give it a try, and I talked about today. The representative told me that I could cut and paste a lot of it, but we really need to pour a lot of emphasis on COVID. The odds of us getting it are slim to nil. I'm just sharing, but you know what? If everybody else is upset and they dropped out, we might jump all those spots. Very rare. So if time allows, I don't mind if we try it in-house. I can't promise, but if I don't have this resolution passed, I can't even try.
So is that a motion?
Okay, I'll do that.
Second.
I didn't even get it out.
Are you gonna have to include the price of the $709,767?
Well, no, I just gotta move the resolution that if time allows for us in the office to complete the grant application, that we move the resolution and authorization for the Spark grant.
Support.
Karen, is that you?
Support.
Yeah, that was Karen.
You have to have a roll call on that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have roll call, please.
Edward Cook.
Yes.
Linda Garrett. Mary Frost.
Yes.
Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, and that passes. Number 9, planner service and authorization for RFP board interviews. Mr. Bowman is not renewing his agreement. I think he is semi-retired and he's donating a lot of his time for people in need around the country or wherever. So he said he would stay on maybe for a few months until we can get a new planner. So I'm looking for us to move forward and outline a way of getting an RFP for a new planner.
So this is what I'm going to be spending most of my time before the Spark grant is to organize this. Bob, of course, is going to be writing out the RFP. So I kind of outlined the process. So I would need a motion to move forward with this process for the planner. Don't know how many responses we're going to get. So the first meeting for the board would be to narrow it down to 6, and then we'll actually interview the 6. If we only get 6 or 5, then we'll just start out with the interviews, of course, so that the board is involved, because the planner is probably a very important aspect of the township. So I think all of us together should actually be in on this instead of just 1 or 2 people. So I kind of gave you an outline. I went through this with Rand, and I gave him also the outline as far as if everything goes perfect, we might be able to hire somebody by August or September 1st. So he's fine with that, and I said, now you do know nothing always goes perfect, so it might be September or October. So he said that he'll always be available just as he is now. So I'm throwing this out to you. Do you like this RFP process summary? Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion that we use the planner RFP process summaries presented and move forward.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay, so we have a motion and we do have a second. Everybody understands that we're going to go out and start interviewing, and then we'll come back with some applicants. Any other comments?
I've got a comment.
Yes.
So Rand said he would be available if we needed him, but he's in Fort Lauderdale. I've got to go down there and talk to him. Is that it? We got to go down?
Only in the winter.
Only on your body.
Don't want to go in the summer.
Okay.
But you can go in the summer if you want. That's okay. Anyways, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Mary Frost.
Yes.
Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brayco.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that passes. Okay, now it's a resolution authorizing Township of Addison to opt into the community Development Block Grant CDBG program. I think we just need a resolution to sign. It's something that we do every year anyhow. Anybody have any comments on that? Or?
I'll move the resolution authorizing the Township of Addison to opt in CDBG for 2024 through 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any comments? Could we have a roll call on that, please?
Mary Cross.
Yes.
Karen Donald.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, and that passes. Now we'll move on to item number 11. The Fire chief, we got the grant.
Yes.
There's another fire amendment, am I correct? So
Yeah.
we have a fire person, and you're looking for a motion to allow you to hire one, is that correct?
Yeah, back in March, I brought forward to the board, accepting of the grant and the position, and everybody agreed to that. And I said I would come back once we actually found the person, and then and let the board approve the wages as well for that 4-year contract.
I'd like to make a motion to create the position of recruitment and retention officer and the wages and benefit as presented for the next 4 years.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, can we have roll call, please?
When will we start, Jared?
What's that?
When will we start?
I'm hoping that next Monday now that we've done this so quick, yeah. So because we only had so much time, that's why we had to add this on there, because we accepted in April and we had till July to hire the position and start drawing that money from the government. So,
Thank you.
for the grant.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Donald. Yes. Mary Cross.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. You're all set, chief?
All right.
Can I ask who did you hire?
Jim Angelo. Yeah, he's been actually working part-time and doing it now already the last, like a Monday and a Friday for the last 5 months. Some good results, so we'll keep moving forward with that. Yeah, we're kind of excited. And he's an older gentleman, so it's only, 4 years, and he knows that, we don't have any anticipation of keeping that position right now. So it would be hard to find somebody out there just to do that commitment, the 4 years, so. And for the wages too.
Right.
I mean, they're really, there are not a lot of wages there, but, it's money from, grant money, so we'll use it up and go from there. Yep. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now moving on to item number 12. This is a budget amendment to complete the distribution of the ARPA funds. I was at the OTATS meeting today, and it was brought to our attention that part of the negotiations with the debt ceiling right now, the Congress has, of course, approved raising the debt ceiling, but part of the negotiations is that any unspent money from the ARPA funds would be taken back to the government. So my proposal is that I'd like to spend ours before it gets taken back. All the township supervisors, some of them have already allocated their disbursements, and so they don't have this problem right now. But we have plans already of where we were putting this money. We just haven't done it yet. And so what I'd like to do tonight is to allocate it so that it goes where we had already planned for it to go. So that's a budget amendment.
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment. I don't really want to read it all. Dated May 15th, 2023. So 200 is going to go to fire capital. And then we're going to go to, for legal, 388619. Computers and equipment will receive $573.73. Then we're going to go into the parks, and the parks will receive $178,000.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Does anybody have any comments? Not hearing any, can we have a roll call on that, please?
Karen Donald.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Mary Cross.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to public forum. If anybody in the public has anything they'd like to state, please come forward and just state your name and This is where we don't talk, this is where we listen, okay? So if you have something, we'll listen. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm Derek Musgrave from Shoup Road. I've met a couple of you guys since I've been here for just over a year. Your favorite topic, gravel roads. And if I may, I have some handouts, a handout for everybody. Just to make it quick and short, I don't like coming and making complaints without having some recommendations or potential ideas from Idea Ferry.
Is it the same?
No, it's further research since that last one.
Alright.
But recent research in my complaint of our road being a field road basically instead of a gravel road, you guys are inundated with a huge problem based on Michigan Constitution doesn't allow you to do millage enough probably to participate greatly in the tri-party program. You guys budgeted $56,000 I think this year for roads that'll probably just gravel only 1 mile, but that's also included with the chloride, which they just did chloride this last week. So there's really no budget for re-graveling, and as city planners, you guys probably already know this, but things like gravel roads, that probably needs a 10 or 15 year, 20 year plan to re-gravel ever so often, otherwise the gravel winds up in the ditches, if there are ditches. But mainly, a lot of the tertiary roads has no drainage, and the county, when they do their roads, they like to crown them to make that bond. Well, when you're crowning a road up against embankments that holds water, it disrupts that soil bond, and it just makes a big soup, and then ultimately turns into mud holes and stuff. So they just asked for some help. One, Shoup Road, back here on the back road, it's a thoroughfare. It's not just a road serving a few households. It's a bypass road, from what I hear. Just like everybody else, don't forget about us. We're there. We'd like to maintain roads, and wherever you can find money, please throw it at the county so they can give us gravel. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? In public forum, anyone else would like to speak? Okay. Oh, I already have Dan.
Yeah, I thought, Dana Fredericks, 1440 Spruce. Due that I live on the edge of the right development, I'd just like to make a little suggestion to the board. I researched a lot of things about sewage treatment plants on, the internet, and there's really, Springfield Township has pages and pages and pages of regulations that you have to go through in order to build a sewage treatment plant in Springfield Township. And I tried to find out information of what Addison Township has, and apparently there isn't anything to address that. You just go by whatever the state puts out. And I'd just like to make a suggestion before some big builder comes in here and wants to do another giant development. These open air lagoons like we have over there at Copper Hills are a thing of the past, and like you drive down Lake George and Drainer Road, in the springtime, you can't even stand it over there. I can't even imagine how the people live there. You go build yourself a couple $100,000, well nowadays $1 million house, and then somebody puts a sewage treatment plant across the street from you, and your property value goes right down to nothing. So what I'm trying to say is I think that we should have a little more restrictions on these sewage treatment plants. You never see one built right in the center of the subdivision they're servicing. They're always way out on the corner where it affects somebody else. So I just think the township should look into the future and come up with some kind of, ordinance or regulations that deals with these open air sewage treatment plants, so it doesn't affect the homeowners that are already established in that area. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Gazanik. Hey, Bruce, reach out to that young lady sitting next to him and congratulate her for being voted Michigan Township Association President. Come on.
We put put it on Facebook.
I don't have Facebook.
Okay, if we're done with public forum, then how about Addison Township Board reports? Anybody on the board have a report from any of our board?
I would like to say, and they're leaving, don't leave just yet.
Don't leave, I got some comments.
So in Washington, I went to Washington last week and we talked to the state representatives, and one of the topics that we addressed was to help us on local roads for townships with a population under 20,000. Don't know if we got anywhere, but that was something that we were really trying to bring back to Michigan, is that we need more money for local roads. That's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Don't leave yet.
We're also going for grants for the fire department so that Jerry can actually improve his firefighters. And we also were petitioning them for volunteers. They only get 14 cents per mile. We would like to see the volunteers, especially like for Meals on Wheels or driving somebody to the doctor, get a business rate because it is a service. I'm done.
Yes.
Sorry, my name's Ben Barber. I'm a new resident of Shoot Road. I actually don't understand the mechanism.
Just hold on a minute.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're done with the public forum, so just hold on a minute.
Okay, so
we have
I'll
to
speak.
follow just the line here. Anybody else on, nobody else on board? Okay, we have any legal communications?
I did receive a communication. It was in addition to the one that was just passed out tonight and is concerning Shoot Road, and which all the board members should have. It'll be available at the township under correspondence.
Okay, now we'll go to the supervisor report. That's where I get to speak, okay? I met with the road commission last Monday for 2 hours here, okay? About all our roads, about the ditching, about the trees, the umbrella. I explained to them that our roads don't dry out because, first of all, Shoot Road is an east and west, doesn't get the sun. If you look at Shoot Road, and I just drove down it again today, I come to my house, it's just up the road there. When you come down there, you'll see that it's a low land and it is wet, okay? But it doesn't get the sun, okay? That's the east and west road, just like Noble Road, Ray Road, all of those roads, they only get a sun for a certain amount of time. The north-south roads dry out much quicker, okay? And so I do understand why they stay wet, because my road stays wet because I'm on the east-west road also, okay? So I did talk to the road commission. They are going to do some ditching, and they have every year. I point out where the ditching needs to be. And I understand when you have those high banks, the water has no place to go. They need to knock those down and get the water going somewhere. We do participate in the tri-party. We have redone just about Addison Township since I've been in office, 15 years. We've done every road, re-gravelled them all completely once during the recession when nobody wanted gravel. We bought it all because we got it, the trucking cheap, everybody was out of work. And we've almost completed it twice now, okay? I do understand that your road is, it's a trying road, but if I keep just adding gravel to it, it doesn't help until they get the ditching done, okay? So we have a new foreman and a new superintendent from the road commission here, and they've been very responsive to me, and we've kind of hit it off. And that's the key, okay? I've had other foremen and other superintendents, you know, when I call them, they just blow me off. But these guys actually are doing something. I will check out what we can do on Shoot Road. Like I said, I drove it. I do have some gravel coming, which I think we're going to get almost 2 miles of gravel, okay? The cost, when we first started, for the same amount of money that I put in tri-party, I was getting 6 miles of gravel. I'm down to probably just under 2 miles now for the same amount of money. That's how much that has gone up. I did ask the road commission if they could get the county and the road commission to raise the amount of money that they put into the pot, and they're going to try to do that so that we would raise ours too to get it back up so we can do maybe 4 or 5 miles a year. So that being said, The road commission has recommended Army Road to be re-gravelled. Well, that road is horrendous in the sense that they did so much construction at the Salvation Army there, all that heavy equipment, and Curtis Road got the beating also. When the Salvation Army came to us with this project, they did state that they would help us with some of that road. I'm going to go meet with them and tell them they need to pony up a little bit because they pay no taxes. They're a nonprofit. So it's the residents of Addison Township who are paying for all of the nonprofit road use. Okay, so I think that they were in agreement before. So I'm going to try to get them to pony up a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them to put gravel instead of all of Army Road. I'm going to ask them to do Shoup Road there because I did look at it. But I've got to get them to take those high banks off and that ditching off. And it would be very helpful if people, I know everybody loves the trees, but it'd be very helpful if people would cut back. Well, look, drive down the road and see how many trees you actually have there. There's no sunlight there. If somebody could maybe cut the trees back a little bit and get some sun onto the road, it would certainly help.
So that'd be on the south side since the sun's in the south, but I'm on the north side. And
yes.
I'm clearing out my pond as much as I can to help.
Yes. But anyways, that's what I will check out that I can do for you. Okay, just go on. We had a very successful spring cleanup, and I'd like to thank Pauline and Mary for helping with that. That was very successful. We couldn't have packed any more in those trucks. We had the limit. So people apparently do appreciate the spring cleanup. I'd like to thank Dan Davis, who went around with me with our trailer and picked up all the couches and mattresses that grew during the winter. And you know, if you see one mattress, the next day you see two more. And so it's better to have them all picked up, and then people think twice about dumping. And I covered Shoup Road. I had that on my notes already. I'd like to say that the library now has bought a new piece of property up on Lakeville Lake. I'd like to have the board at a later time as an agenda item consider the township buying the property across the street here that the library used to own. And so that will be on the agenda in the future. I've talked to the previous owners and I've talked to our township and I think things are good. So I'll leave it at that. I think it would benefit the residents. We'll make, my suggestion is make it to a park, and it does have a small waterfront on it. I'd like to put possibly some kind of just a small dock for kayaks for our seniors so they could go out in the cove and make their way out. And that being said, if the township has a few feet on the lake, I think that maybe the township could possibly help in the future with some of the expenses on some of the items like the marine patrol or whatever, because now our residents have access to go out there on a kayak or whatever. So I think it's to our advantage, and I think the library's advantage, and I think that money then would go to the new library. And as you know, this site over here, the infrastructure cost for the library was so exorbitant that it made it impossible to build at that site because just the fill and the drainage and the infrastructure was getting close to $500,000 just to get the dirt in there to make the ground level. They do have a nice site now up the road, and everything works on it, and it's buildable, and it's going to save an awful lot of money and be a nice facility. But anyways, I just wanted to break the news that we're looking at hopefully using some of our, we have ARPA money to buy that and make it into a nice walkable park maybe some benches there for people to walk their dog. And then there is a short little waterfront where we could put some benches. And I think that would be nice for the residents. So anyways, sewer plant. We never approved that one. The state trumped us. The state approved it. We had no say in it. I went in and complained to them. The state and the health department controls all of that. The township, they told me to go away. I had no say in it. I walked that thing. I complained. I did everything I possibly could. We never were invited when they got their permits for that sewer plant. That was done by the state of Michigan, and they approved everything, and we had no notice, no say in it or anything. So when these things come up, we don't have control over it because they go to the state for these big projects, and it's Eagle that ends up giving them.
Why does Springfield Township have 20 pages of regulations on it?
Well, the health department handles all septics, okay? And the state also handles the major septics. So I guess we can have all we want in it, but we had septics, waterfront 100 feet away from any water or whatever. That was in our ordinance, but they didn't come to us. They went right to the state. And Curtis Wright.
We can't change that?
He got it all, and he's no longer here, but he got that all approved by the state. That never came to us. We had the fallout. I've been around there. I've called everybody under the sun, met them all out there, and once again, they say the state.
I want to just say one, and then I'll leave you alone. You guys, I've been to all these meetings on marijuana, medical marijuana dispensaries and stuff. The biggest thing is the smell. But you can't have a marijuana dispensary or anything to do with marijuana because it smells. But you can open up an open outhouse that services 100 people, and that's not a problem. I find it pretty ironic. It is.
Well, we don't have any marijuana places here.
I know.
In Addison Township, okay? I don't have a.
We've had that
I don't have a
discussion.
police force big enough to handle the complaints. Okay. Other than that, I'm all done, and I request anyone would like an adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.